a lot of my work deals with, you know, pop culture and childhood and the consumerism of childhood, and you know, everything's been Disneyfied and sexualization of toys, girl toys and boy toys. Tinkerbell all of a sudden is this sexy character. She used to just be this other, you know, fairy, right? You know, and like what's sold to boys, what's sold to, but then there's the whole, for me really it should just read as a abstraction from a distance and be like a pretty abstraction, and when you get close, there's all these other layers.
Yeah, what happened with this piece, I found these rims at a flea market, and when I saw them aesthetically, I knew I could make a really cool sculpture. I didn't know exactly what. So, and then I hunted around for like a base for it for like, God knows how long, a year. I couldn't find the right thing until I ran across this guy who has these, this is a dolly. My feet came up. And it spins around. So it actually spins around. You spin the sculpture around. The guy didn't know where they came from. Nobody knows. So it's like, if somebody can solve that riddle, they win. I buy them a Happy Meal over here at Burger King. I mean, I just cannot.
I woke up to a sunny day today. I woke up so you can hear me say. I woke up so you can hear me say that she is a liar. That she is lying.
The idea that there are so many different kinds of artwork here. I love the combination of furniture, design, you know, art, whatever. It's very energizing.
I think it's fabulous. The work of Liz Fay is beyond description to me.
I'm Caroline. It's just amazing. And I'm an artist too, so I love to see it for inspiration.
I actually had a woman next door to me, she was a makeup artist in Vegas. It's pretty good.
I like this.
My name is Mary Bailey, and this is a piece called How to Attain Eternal Life, which comes from a little piece of paper glued up here, which is cut out of a Bible. And so it's the title on the top of the page of the Bible. This ended up becoming sort of about my grandmother, who at the time I made it was about 100 years old, and lying in bed, dying very slowly. She was a very religious woman, and she was very strict. And so I always related her Presbyterian religion with not being allowed to do anything. Sort of living life very constrained and caged.
So what I did is that I took wire, and this wire here actually, and I wired it together, and I foamed it in the middle. I foamed it, because I said, how am I going to get this to glue? You can't glue it. And I thought, wait a minute, the shit is foam, I have to foam it. It's foam and foam. So I went to Home Depot, got the foam, and before I put the wire in, I foamed it in the inside, and I squeezed it together, took blue paint, and I painted it so it doesn't look bad on the side. You see the side? Look at the side. Like, look at this side here. So it kind of matches, right?
Bizarre.
You know?
And then that canister was with it, or is that?
Yeah, that was stuck onto this top piece. So I just did a graffiti thing here because it was like in my it's like this sort of like this brain, or I was thinking about calling Syria from Syria, the gas. Does anything just happen? Syria's dilemma. serious dilemma.
A monotype is a form of printmaking, but you only get one. In the undershirt painting monotype, that's part of my garment series, and I don't print actual clothes. What I do is I make the clothes and then print it, but I make them designed to be printed. In other words, you couldn't take a regular shirt and print it because you would have 2 layers of fabric and the ink wouldn't transfer through. So what I try to do is I try to find fabric that the ink will transfer partially through and I'll get a texture. And that's what I did with the undershirt.
These were my jeans. I had them for a while. And I love them. They were so comfortable, like old jeans, you know how it is. So I kept patching them over and over and over until my Spanish seamstress, Rosa, said, Me no puedo, I can't put any more patches on here. But I didn't want to throw them out. And I thought, well, what am I going to do? I can't wear them because I'll get arrested for indecent exposure because they had so many freaking holes in the crotch. So what I did, I stiffened them, and I make them look like a bronze. I stiffened them, and I look how stiff they are. I stiffened them, and I sprayed them with a bronze paint. I call them designer jeans because the idea is that designer jeans are so expensive. It's a true story. I'm walking, like scavenging, looking at driftwood, and I look over and I thought, what the fuck? I see this rusty thing in it. I said, what is this thing? I went over, I got in the water, and I pulled this thing out. I pulled this bike out. You know, it's a children's bike, you know? And I thought, this is art, man. this is art. This is going home with me. And an idea came to me. To maybe because I'm a veteran, you know, and I have a lot of feelings about a lot of my art too is a social comment about what's going on in the world around me. You know, I tend to be inspired by events in history, you know, geopolitical, whatever you want to say. But and I try to sometimes my art speaks about. You know, like the flag pieces I did for September 11th. My art's sort of like a commentary, I guess, of how I see things. You know, so So this is War Child, man, and hey, I just stuck it there, and this is an Afghanistan child. This is a boy soldier with bullets. Child running through. Look at it, child soldier with carrying a gun. Kids. There's a child, you know. So there's just different scenes, man, of kids being affected by war.
When I was young, my mother used to say, Jose, don't stray away. Now I'm here to say you were right, but I had to stray away from the lights. Oh, I was born in the city, raised in the city. Oh,
My name is Mary Bailey, and I work primarily in wood as a sculptor. We're in Reading, Connecticut, and we're in a barn that was probably built in the mid-1800s, and I've lived here for about 22 years. I had a studio in Bridgeport before I moved here, and I found out about the place because a friend of mine was renting a cottage that's part of the property, and he told me about it. So instead of moving up to the Catskills, where I almost bought a rundown house and barn, my husband and I moved here, and we had to, it was, no heat, no electricity, the upstairs wasn't insulated, so we fixed it up, and my studio's in the downstairs, and my husband's design studio is in the second floor of the barn. But it's bigger than our house. We have 2,500 square feet of studio and 1,600 square feet of house. So that's where our priorities are. Charlie Parker and Dizzy Gillespie have this great song called Bloom Dido, and it's actually my answering tone on my cell phone. But I was looking it up, because, bloom, flower, and I was looking it up, the source of the title, Bloom Dido, and what is a Dido? So I looked up Dido, and to my delight it said Dido means perform mischievous deed or tricks. So it was perfect because this is a flower here, and each bloom is different. It doesn't have, it's not all the same. So I'm just going to show you my process here. So I have lots of drawings. Drawing is an important part of my process. Here's a doodle that I did, years ago. And I just take my doodles and I cut them out and throw them in a folder. And I was intrigued by that sort of center element. In my sketchbooks, I work out how I'm going to make, on this, I call this the berries. So, are the berries oval shaped? What is the shape of the piece of wood underneath? All the pieces come apart, and they're interesting in that sort of partial state too. I mean, they're odd. They could be. It suggests a whole nother.
It kind of looks like a face.
Yeah, that's what my son said. I hadn't seen that, but yeah, you got the nose and the ears. The curator, a woman named Judy Berry in Chautauqua, New York, the gallery in Chautauqua, New York, that she is a curator, and she wants to do sort of flowers from a different, non-traditional perspective. So I fit into that category.
Right.
So as an artist, you have to be able to have an idea and then let go of that idea when something else, becomes more interesting or takes over. That took me a long time to learn how to do that. I like making stuff up. I mean, that's probably obvious at this point, as I like to, my source of inspiration is a combination of the natural world and kind of more of a man-made aesthetic. because you can't compete with the natural world. I mean, if you try to go out and build realistic flowers, some people do in porcelain or glass, it's just, it's practically impossible. So I just like to use the natural world as a source of inspiration and then see where it goes.
Jaynie Crimmins, and I have been in this studio for almost a year. It's in the Brooklyn Fireproof Building in Bushwick, and I'm in Studio 215. And I found this studio space, it's a share, I share with 4 other artists on Stephanie's list, which is something that any artist can sign up for. It's free, and you can find studio space there that's pretty reasonable. I started working with my shredded papers about 2009 when I started reading a lot of Bob Herbert, who was formerly an op-ed writer in the New York Times, was writing about the economic crisis and just people's travails and how people's lives are being transformed, not just the wealthiest, but unfortunately the people who aren't noticed. People were losing their jobs, people were losing their homes, and it really affected me, and so I started shredding my financial statements, and that's how I started working with shredded paper. And I color code them so that I can also create areas of color in my work. Everything that has color is from a shredded piece of mail. So there's no paint involved with this. I used to use beeswax in my work, and I used the beeswax as an adhesive, but I stopped doing that as well. I just want the paper to speak for itself. I really like the way the paper curls and the imperfections, and so it's just thread and then an armature and then glue. Well, I'm very influenced by a lot of these organic forms, and you know, Sandy Skoklin, who's a photographer who makes things, I mean, I just love the idea of repetition. And I have some other references here to, I'm doing a series of things that I'm calling totems. I'm very influenced by the work of Louise Bourgeois. Louise Bourgeois did a whole series of totems that she called personages. And her work is very, very personal, and because a lot of what I do comes from my own identity, I felt that even though these are representative of cultural systems, they're also representative of me and how I participate in the cultural systems that I mentioned before. And so this is the largest piece I've ever done, and it's not finished yet. It's going to be taller than me when I'm finished, and I want to finish the bottom of it. I'm also learning as I go along about how to stabilize pieces, which this is not completely stabilized yet, but I'm learning. So these are my totems, and to me they represent the identity of the people, and this is me, who participate in our world through their junk mail.
Say something meaningful, please. It's
Alpert
been
Fay,
3 years.
and I do textile work and mixed media sculpture. I had in the Bethel show early spring fiddleheads and flowers, and that one is basically an oval shape. It has holes that are cut into it. It's not something that you would normally find in a hooked rug. The other piece was called Ripple, Lake Water, and the inspiration was you know, when you see at dusk a fish jump up and sort of go for a fly and create a ripple in the water, or if somebody throws a pebble, and the shape is amorphous, it's just sort of organic and flowed out from the center. And then I also had a sculpture milk thistle sculpture, which was created with milk thistle hairs that I gathered from outdoors. And it's inside a plexiglass box. And I don't know, I guess, what I would say about that piece is when the sunlight hits it, that's when it's most beautiful. It sort of shines, and you can see how delicate the seeds are. I am very inspired by nature. As you can probably see in my studio, this time of year I'm harvesting everything. Leaves from the trees, the beautiful colors, and I have a big vegetable garden outside, and this year it was mostly devoted to things that I was planting to harvest for my sculptures. So anything, when you look up close, there are all kinds of really interesting things that you don't normally notice, and that's what I like to do, is I like to isolate those things that I'm finding out in nature and put them in a sculpture or in a piece where you really have to focus in and you can admire how beautiful they are. So I was picking hydrangea blossoms, and they are what's formed this cup shape here. And then a friend of mine gave me this beautiful Japanese larch branch, which I've been cutting up and soaking in my sink back here and sort of weaving it together. And this is the sculpture that I'm sort of focusing on now. I think I have a couple more days and I'll be done with that piece. And then when I'm done with that, I have another sculpture over here. This is the second. I started a piece like this before, and it's going to hang from something up here, and I have a huge plexiglass box in the other room. But this works with static electricity, and when it's pretty humid today, so you're not really going to see very much, but when it's very dry, it sort of, you can see, it takes off, and it interacts with you. You can make it move just by coming in contact with it. So this piece is going to work in conjunction with some hooking. And so there's sort of three elements in a lot of my work. There's rusty metal pieces that I find, and then something from nature, and also the hooking. So probably all three will be combined in this piece when it's done.
I'm Greg Clark, and I'm a decorative artist currently working in the category of furniture. I brought three pieces. They're mixed media pieces, all seating. A combination of unique materials, metal, leather, stone, glass. It's sort of been the path that I've been on the last few years, trying to bring interesting materials together in unique forms. Well, like in any field of art, there's so much out there, and to create a unique form or a unique composition is part of the challenge. So I try and give my pieces all a wow factor, to identify forms that haven't been used before, or to use forms in a different way than people have seen them. I focus on nature a lot. I focus on the human form in order to create, to borrow some of the shapes and curves. I think innately, man is drawn to certain form and finds it beautiful. So I kind of take advantage of that and incorporate shapes that might be appealing to people into my work. I keep a diary of ideas, and oftentimes you have to, when you finally have the time to create something and actually build it, the idea might not be there. So I try and catalog ideas that I get when I'm walking through the woods, meditating, traveling through the city. And I'll find something that I find interesting and then go back and develop it. I prefer exotic materials that are unfamiliar to people. I think it adds a timeliness to the pieces and an intrigue. So this particular piece is made from a cocobolo wood and patinaed steel. Steel is fairly common, but when we patina it, we make it look like it has age and history and builds character into it. And then this is actually faux pony. It's cowhide, where it's been faux to look like a pony. I love design because for the same amount of money, you can live in a beautiful environment, or you can live in an environment that's visually challenged, that isn't integrated. And an interesting thing about design is that if you have any problem in any aspect of your life, the physical world or the spiritual world, you can problem solve and you can design and you can find that you can solve for just about anything. It can be a combination of research and invention, but it's interesting because as things may pile up around your house that you're not enjoying, if you really sit down and look at the different possible ways of solving for it, before you know it, some of these things that may appear to be costly can just disappear because you've solved the puzzle. And that's how I approach design.
This complication controls the population. We've got to work now. We've got to work now. Sunday mornings.
We are in Bethel, Connecticut, on the Reading Bethel border. That's Bethel. This is Bethel. That's Reading. And we back up to Putnam Park. As you know, you can see it's very quiet here. Can pretty much do whatever I need to do as far as firings. Nobody bothers me with fire or smoke, which is a good thing. Not too many neighbors. And this is my studio that slowly gets bigger every couple of years. I kind of take over another bay of a 3-car garage. So I've got 2 going now, and I've got one setting up for my firing and my kilns and all. That's going to be the last one set up. It's nice having it at the house because you can just come out anytime you want, 10 o'clock at night. It's nice to draw things because then it gives you a focal point, something to head towards. So it's nice to be able to do both. With the pottery, the clay is, you use it, you don't like it, you just throw it in the bin and recycle it and use it again. A lot of times it's better if you're doing something and it's not like turning out the way you want. You get rid of that clay and the next piece of clay you use turns into something just like amazing. It's just basically these are a lot of trimming tools. Once you throw, obviously you're throwing with your hands, but these are the trimming tools after you're done throwing. And you want to do some either the decoration or the trimming of the piece, maybe make it a little thinner here or there, put a foot on it. You need a tool to get in there, make a little line. Anything you touch this with it will make a line in there or decoration. That's what the beauty of clay is. Just different tools you can to get inside. If there was a vessel that had a very small mouth opening, you can actually get inside there with that and kind of bring it up with this tool. Pretty much anything could be a tool, just because the clay is so easy to work with. Especially like when you're making textures or decorations, you can get anything that's like you can get a toy that might do something really cool. Like this is a building block, but this is this design right here. I have the bells. I keep my porch as like a showroom. If you want to take a quick look at that,
Yeah.
Go up there. Wow, lots of critters around here. This is the unfinished udu drum, and my version of the udu drum has a little bell on top. Usually they go the other way, more like a cone. So I call it Beludu. So you get a little bell sound, but then you get the low end sound. This is African drum, Northern Africa. believe this was a water vessel really at one time, and probably someone hit it, and it was like, wow, that sounds pretty cool. I've been a percussionist for 30 years. I have a room full of world instruments. Anything that makes a sound, I'll take it and use it. When I started doing the pottery, like trying to blend my music abilities and also kind of open it up to people who are not going to be playing these things, but be able to enjoy it. So you can put this in a garden and you don't have to be playing something to enjoy that when it's, you're working outside or you're just sitting around outside and hear the bells. It's just something that really is soothing, and it just seems to like put you in a different place, you know? Thank you for coming to the Caracou Studios, Bethel, Connecticut. Frank Cara, it was my pleasure, and thank you very much.
I woke up to a sunny day. I woke up to a sunny day today. Today. I woke up so you can hear me say. I woke up so you